here we are. At this point, the island castle is effectively done. The last big outstanding item here, of course, was the ship. I was able to take some time in February to get that done. So this thing had a bit of a deadline thrown at it. Rather than debut it in Brickworld Chicago, which was the original intention, this is actually going to be at Omaha Brick Days at the end of March. It's going to be something of a soft introduction of this, and it'll still give me time to implement any feedback that I receive in person there at the show. But honestly, as is, I'm really happy that I was able to bring this to life. It feels vibrant, it's exciting, it lights up. Even if we go around behind the ship here, you'll see that the ship even lights up, which is really fun. A very interesting challenge that actually unfortunately required building the ship from scratch to fit a battery box in the hull, but definitely worth it. So I've been working with my wife, a tailor by trade, to get some custom sails on this thing. So we're still working on how we might give some shape to those. They've got a little bit of dimension, but it'd be really nice to get those properly puffed out. So maybe some wire behind or something else. And there's a little bit of work that needs to be done on the rigging to make it a little more believable, get some more string in there. But for the most part, the ship's changed a lot since you last saw it. So there's plenty of room for all sorts of soldiers on board, and then there's an upper section to, of course, steer the ship, and that's where you've got these lights off the back, an empty barrel, and that can be accessed by the ladders here from the deck to that upper deck. This captain's cabin area was the part I was most excited about doing on the ship, and it was definitely going to be the most challenging. I decided to go with dark blue. I think that looks great up against the reddish brown, the dark brown, and then you get the pearl gold accents in there. But yeah, getting that rounded shape, wanted it to extend out over the back a little bit, over the rudder, and I'm really happy with how that came out. And you get a little bit of light coming through too, especially here on the rear with the lights turned out. That's going to look pretty sweet. This back rudder section can actually be removed, and that's where you're going to be able to access that battery box. Again, I was just using those same lights from Brick Loot, just another random lighting kit. These aren't the specific lantern lights like you see with the person on the dock over here. Yeah, it's not quite that. It's actually just built into the 1x1 cylinder brick in trans yellow, and if you look closely, you can actually see a bit of the wire down there leading into that. For the foliage, I did end up going with palm trees. I tried some other things, and it just didn't feel right. I really wanted to embrace that tropical vibe from the beginning, and putting in other trees just kinda, I don't know, it's winter here. It's been a very mild winter, I will say that. But I wanted to think summer with this build, because I think the castle, especially with its warmer tones, screams that. So bringing in the regular green really pops against everything else. And then of course we can populate everything with these wonderful classic parrots, so you'll see a number of them throughout the model. I've been adding a few other details as well, just more soldiers populating the castle itself. Some other animals like this lovely turtle. Quite a few of the seagulls that I bought specifically for this project. They are just too much fun, and they fit in perfectly here. And then just random barrels and crates all over the place too, to kind of liven up the castle turrets. And I think there's two of these vibrant chameleons hidden on the build. So here's one, and I think there's another on that standalone rock out front. Having destroyed Rivendell, I had a lot of these fern pieces lying around, so I was able to use them to make these mini palm trees. And they've got flex tube up the middle, so you get some pretty cool shapes. And they are all over the place. I pretty much depleted my supply of those fern leaf pieces in green, and it looks pretty nice. The larger palm trees are a pretty tried and true technique. So you've got the Travis bricks with the cheese slope, and that's all flex tubed up, so these can bend pretty nicely. You've got the upside down dark tan bush, and then leaves hanging out all over the place. If you look inside, you might get an idea of how that's working. It's those minifigure stand pieces in green. It's just sticking out of a Travis brick again. Just angled all over the place to give it that funky look. So the biggest thing that I want to fix, hopefully, before this goes to Nebraska, is to make that ship as slow as possible. So just now, in between takes here, I actually put on another motor, another 9-volt motor behind the thing, and I was able to operate it at a slower speed. So what seems to be happening is that somewhere over here, it's losing power, which kind of makes sense because the power input is there and it's kind of on the other side. So I'm gonna try to just clean those tracks as much as possible, make sure the electricity is flowing through as evenly as possible, and hopefully I can operate that at a pretty steady, pretty slow speed. Because what's happening now is I can run it slow here, but by the time it gets here, it doesn't have enough power to make it through, and it just stops. So I have to run it at a slightly higher speed to make sure that I can actually make it around. Beyond that, though, I think this is exactly what I wanted it to be. The ship is really tall, which is exactly what I wanted from it. It lights up. The castle, I mean, it don't get much taller than that. Because of the insane height, I think displaying it on a table this tall is kind of ridiculous. So going to look into a shorter table so people can actually appreciate some of the details that are going on up there too. But thanks to everyone who's supported this project as we've gone along. I know this has been a super chill, super unprofessional, I guess, series of videos, but it's been fun, it's been relaxing, it's taken me back to what LEGO should be. Not sets and set reviews, but actually building and imagination. And that's been very therapeutic and good for the soul, I dare say. And hopefully we've got some enjoyment and some inspiration out of this too. I think that's the most important thing. And I hope you get the chance to come see this at Brick Days Omaha or at Brick World Chicago here in June. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm already excited to start working on the next big castle project. But yeah, that's all I've got for this one. Have yourself a great life. I'll see you next time.